the top Democrat on the Veteran Affairs Committee, Senator Blumenthal, has recently said things like the shutdown, quote, weakens veterans' care. What is your response to that? Is it scare tactics?
Well, it's actually worse. It's a lie. And to imply that in any way that we're cutting back on spinal cord injuries and anything else is abysmal.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Washington Times interview with Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Doug Collins, the man who oversees veteran care and policies. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for taking time to sit down with us and have us in your office. I appreciate it.
We're glad you're here.
With the ongoing government shutdown, I wanted to dive in and ask you, what is the impact on veterans and employee pay? And also, of course, there's questions about veteran care.
It is. Well, the good part about it is over time, it's always developed that we have, especially for our core, what we do, taking care of veterans, our healthcare system, our hospital C-box, all of those are open. They'll continue to stay open. Our PCs get paid. Our folks are paid because we're in a advanced appropriation. So those are always going to be taken care of. Disability payments are going to be taken care of. Processing those are going to continue because of our funding status and the way we have. Now, what is cut back for us is some of our outwardly focused stuff, some of our cemetery maintenance issues. We have also vocational rehab and education. So for some of our veterans who are in training to get new jobs or to apply for those are going to be impacted right now. Getting some help in our regional offices are shut down because of the shutdown. So we're about 97% fully operational. We got about 3%. But you have to understand, 3% for us is about 30,000 employees. So it's a larger footprint that we have. So we're very much balanced. We're very concerned about where the situation is to not go further. The further we go, the more what we'll call the outwardly facing stuff will taper off with furloughed employees. But that's where we're at right now.
Okay. And I know I wanted to give you a chance to respond. I think it was the top Democrat on the Veteran Affairs Committee, Senator Blumenthal, has recently said things like the shutdown, quote, weakens veterans' care. Specifically, he talked about concerns with cuts related to life-saving and spinal cord injury, people dealing with those disorders. What is your response to that? Is it scare tactics? Is there?
Well, it's actually worse. It's a lie. And look, you can be a senator and you can be entitled to your own opinion. You just can't be entitled to your own facts. And to imply that in any way that we're cutting back on spinal cord injuries and anything else is abysmal conduct from a senator, and he ought to apologize, frankly, because it's just, especially when he's one of the ones cutting off funding to the federal government.
Voting, right.
But I just told you in our first question, all of those things are open. Our spinal cord centers are open, everything. So it's really, it's hurtful to have someone who should know, who should be he's the ranking member of the committee, but yet says something that shows as if he's never heard of the VA. Look, he's done nothing but complain this whole year when we've tried to modernize our systems, how we've gotten better. We've cut our backlogs on disability claims by 100,000 almost. In less than 4.5 months, we have been able to lower wait times, get better increased care, use community care, and all they've concerned about was his concern was more union employees and things that are just a peripherous to what we do. I unfortunately, the good senator can have his own opinion, but you can't lie.
Right. Is this just rhetoric you think related to the shutdown? You sat through shutdowns as a member of Congress.
Yeah, I've been.
And I guess at what point do you think, I guess looking back maybe 2023, when did Republicans, or 2013, when did Republicans think, all right, it's time? Do you think that the Democrats are going to have any sort of epiphany soon?
I think they will, but look, they're having to play very much to a very liberal base. The Chuck Schumer shutdown should be the AOC shutdown. It is a reaction to what happened in March. I mean, I'm just, and some people get upset. Well, Doug, you're saying the Democrats shut down. No, AP said Democrats shut down. The New Yorker said shut down. And so I'm just repeating what the mainstream media said, but it's true because what they got to figure out is what is it worth, and the realization of what they're asking for. And they keep saying we don't want, they talk about the health care for illegals. I have a flyer on my desk in this office in New York State where they put a flyer out for 65 and above undocumented workers to get health care. Medicare, that's federal.
Right.
So let's just don't play the game. The game is they're trying to get something. We'll see as they go forward. I
It
think
doesn't seem like polling really supports that. I remember, I think it was Gavin Newsom out in California actually looked at their Medicaid or what they were doing because of illegals.
It is like I said, everybody's got to find their pressure point here. And it's how much was the fight? How much is the fight going to be worth it? I think for them, they just got to decide, is this worth putting the country through? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that's going to be keeping people, military, from getting paid. They're the ones that's going to be continuing this painfulness of this shutdown.
Now, this is before your time here, but you might remember from your years on Capitol Hill, about a decade ago, there was news about that VA secretly had rescheduled veteran appointments.
I very much remember.
Yes. So I think some of them, according to an IG report, had died waiting for their appointments or for their care, for their new appointments. I know it's been years, but I wanted to ask you, are you monitoring the situation? Are there no more secret wait lists? Like, what has been done?
No, in fact, that was one of the transitional moments in VA life. I was in Congress during that time. That was in 2013, 2014 timeframe. Phoenix, Augusta, Georgia, Atlanta, this is where this was coming out of. And out of that, you got the Choice Act, which came from Johnny Isakson and many others. And that was the first step toward allowing veterans to use community care if our wait times were too long or they wasn't able to get the care as quickly as they needed, which led into the Mission Act, which is under what we do now. They're working on the Access Act now. All of this is designed to get the veteran the best care quickly as possible. We've taken great steps to make sure that our veterans are getting the quality care they need. Wait times are not the best way to judge a hospital. In fact, we're the only hospital system it does. But the reason we do is because of what you just talked about. We had to find a metric in Congress to say, how do we hold them accountable? Well, we're moving on from that. We're still holding their wait times to make sure, but we're also getting the community where they can get that care quickly as well.
Yeah, and I have a friend that goes to the VA, and he's talked about how much better it's been.
Yeah, we're working at it. I'm glad to hear it.
You all were a major focus as the president was pursuing some of the workforce cuts this year. And I was going to ask you if you could go through the numbers with me. What was the workforce in January compared to now? What were the big changes within those numbers? Where do you see them going a year from now?
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot right now. We ended up having about 30,000 people who took early retirement, the VERA program, which said that we're just going to leave and on their own accord. It was a voluntary process, and they took it, and that brought us down to about 450-ish thousand. And that's got us where we need to be for now in the White House, and we've worked at that. But what it really did is begin to focus our workforce is where it should be. Let me give you perspective on this. When we got here, over the past 10 years, we were always on the high-risk list from GAO for a number of reasons, from wait times to patient care to retention, all this. In the last few years, especially under the finishing of the Biden administration, they put $100 billion more dollars into our budget and 100,000 plus employees, but yet our metrics went the wrong way. I mentioned the disability claim backlog. They were at 260 plus thousand when I got here in February. We're at 130,000 now. In going further. So it sort of showed the metrics for healthcare, as you just said, your friend says it's getting better. Well, we didn't let doctors and nurses and all go. We took those and protected them, but we made it more efficient. So I think that's our biggest thing is we're good where we're at right now. Could there be some more changes as we go forward? Sure, but nothing in the line of there's no rifts in the future. There's nothing like that as we go forward.
And then I heard just when I got here about how you traveled to the different healthcare facilities, that you've been to dozens of them.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess what have you found state to state? Is there ways to better streamline things? What are some of the key points that you've observed?
Actually, we need to be more of the VA. We're the largest healthcare system in the country. We ought to act like it. We don't, because we individualize our departments. They all think that they're a startup in their own communities. And so my emphasis for them is you're the VA. We have buying power, we have leverage, we have the best research in the world, we have the best orthotics, we do hips and joints and stuff. We do all this great, but we too often siloed ourselves into our own individual hospital. So what I'm doing is we're capturing now, we just started a dashboard that is now capturing metrics for all hospitals the same way in the same area, so they can compare themselves to each other and say, hey, are we doing here? And for those that are struggling, we're going to give you a help plan from those that are doing well. I also made a very strong challenge to all of them that said the CMS standard, which is what all hospitals use, not just VA. We're moving it away from some of the things and say we're going to compare ourselves to every other hospital, and that's from a 1 to 5 scale. And I made the comment, I said, we're not going to have any more 2s and 3s. We're all going to be 5s and 4s. So we're moving toward that metric. So I think for us, it's just a matter of, some is atmosphere, some of it is I'll use an example of Las Vegas. Las Vegas is sort of like a deployment zone. It's hard to get people to doctors. The doctors are tapped out. They're growing very fast. How do you move? Any healthcare system has these issues. But then I can go to some other places where it's easier with community care, easier to recruit doctors to come and be a part of it. So some of that is just knowing where you are and how we do it.
Okay, perfect. I really appreciate your time. My last question I ask every time, because I think you never know. What did I not ask you that you think is important that goes unreported?
I think the biggest thing is that there's the workforce at the VA is being empowered to be the leaders that they're supposed to be. That you talked about me visiting these sites. I tell them, I said, you're senior leaders, be senior leaders. Too often this has been the bureaucratic maze of government where everything goes to sort of, I think, disappear in the VA. Is always, we were the poster child for bureaucracy. We're now streamlining it to where veterans are first at the VA. The whole system operates to make sure that that happens. And I think we get lost in the government maze of bureaucracy about that, in the maze of crosstalk. But at the end of the day, the veterans are now the first and foremost, the only thing we think about on our metrics on how we do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.